Hello and thanks for checking out TheChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hey everyone, hope you're having a good weekend. Checking in on Canadian MJ. First off, congrats to the Bulls. It was a wonderful week, capped off by a wonderful Friday, like the days of old. We're going to be looking at the Big Four and then a couple US MJ names. We certainly had a party Friday in the chat room with some party parrots after hours. That's our tradition on a big day. And we certainly had that. So highlighted in the video before Friday how we were looking at potential entries in ACB, APH, and CRON. I was anticipating a little bit further downside because of the weak close that we had. But in the end, it turns out that that segment that was on CNBC and Fast Money does turn out to have a bigger impact than I was anticipating. So I adjust my game plan, and rather than looking for bids and a dump to start the day, we could recognize the strength, see that the bulls were showing up, and adjust our plan accordingly. So checking in on WEED, first thing I want to touch on is obviously we know about the bull break on the weekly time frame. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we finally got it at 31.46. This is the kind of follow through we get on that bull move. The week that it breaks, we see the biggest bull week that we've seen in quite some time. So the psychology of what's going on here, a lot of people say that technical analysis is a self-fulfilling prophecy, and to a certain degree I can agree with them because I am a technical analyst and I'm currently in a WEED swing position that I have been in longer than I've held this position longer than I've held a WEED position in 2018. So the reason that I'm comfortable holding now is because of the bull break on the weekly time frame. So again, going back to the supply and the demand example that I gave in the last video, there is less supply of shares because people like me, short-term traders, are going a little bit longer because of the longer-term bullish break and sentiment. So I've been doing a whole lot of short-term trading as well, but I do have some core longer-term positions. And Friday morning, I was more diversified in this sector than I've ever been just because I was holding, three of the big names at once. Usually when I'm trading them, I'm going in heavy on one name or two names at the same time. And Friday I did three. So WEED, very strong daily close. That's another thing worth note. We've seen in the recent past, in the last month, really bullish days end with a sell-off at the end of the day. There's a couple things that we need to factor in here. Number one, the strong close. What's the reason for the strong close? Obviously, the bullish reaction to the sentiment on CNBC and the uplisting that's coming. Actually, not the uplisting. Well, yeah, the uplisting on the NYSE. But another thing is Monday is open in the US and closed in Canada. In my opinion, that's a bullish environment because we have bullish momentum going forward. And if only the US tickers are available for trading, they are less liquid. So a little bit of money goes longer. If we were seeing weakness and closing down at the low of the day and in a dump, I would expect the opposite. And I'd say, oh man, the bears could probably make some ground tomorrow or Monday because of the lack of the Canadian names being open. This is the opposite instance where I am looking for more bullish action and follow through. Because think about it, who's going to be selling their TWMJF positions if we're anticipating an uplisting to the NYSE and more liquidity and more access to institutional investors? So a part of me, I actually entered a little bit more WEED to add on to my swing position towards the end of the day. And the reason for that was the sentiment. It's a bit of a gamble because this is just my opinion, but it's my opinion that we will see this bullish sentiment carry forward in that less liquid environment, and sellers that might be there for WEED on the Canadian side of things are not going to be as prevalent on the US side of things on Monday, in my opinion. So we'll see if that ends up following through. In terms of resistance that we have here, we made another huge break. So the weekly time frame, we cleared our first resistance level of 31.46, and in the same bull break, we cleared the next resistance level of 34.71. Again, as I talked about in a recent video, this now shifts the odds that we're going to see an all-time high this year significantly more in favor of the bulls. So the percentages of what's going to happen are constantly shifting, and now that we've cleared two major hurdles, the bulls are looking good. We only have two major weekly resistances left, $39.09 and $44. So we're definitely going to see all-time highs. It's just a question of whether it's 2018 or the first half of 2019. And again, this does give a good indication that we could see continuation. Bull MACD cross on the daily or on the weekly, close to cross coming in. That will be significant as well. So 4-hour time frame, we're definitely overextended. We can't lose sight of that. So if we do see further follow through on Monday, we have to be cautious, just knowing that we're getting really extended. The 4-hour RSI is currently up at historical pullback levels. It can go higher. The all-time high, it definitely ran harder, but keep in mind that all-time highs, the RSI can go a lot further, and we disregard the RSI a lot more when we're in blue sky breakout. We're not in blue sky breakout, we're just in a breakout, so something to be aware of. But again, all depends on what you're doing, and with me, I'm playing long-term and short-term positions, so I will probably take profit in my short-term position on Monday on the US side of things, but I'm not going to touch my core holdings of my swing position unless the daily trend changes, and that's not going to change anytime soon. So I'm not even worried about that right now. So that's where we stand in terms of support. The hourly time frame, again, WED did not really establish support. This does look like institutional buying, and what I say when I say that is there are often times where I see in the regular stock market, with coming to mind is CMG, Chipotle does it a lot, but it's either company buyback or institutional loading that you can see the trajectory of the price is just on a nice even playing field, and it just rides up in an extremely strong manner with very healthy limited consolidation before continuation. Didn't really get that feel exactly on Friday for WED, but just looking at the 1-hour chart, it's very clear there's a ton of buying pressure. And again, the hourly chart's really overbought as well, but we will anticipate healthy consolidation and look for continuation short term. So APH is the bulls bought the dip as well. So we have a daily inside bar to be watching. Break of 1190 bearish, break of 1254 is bullish. Our new daily higher low of support is 1182. So we did not fill that gap to the downside at 1150, but it was very healthy consolidation, and now the bulls are trying to establish a new level and try and see continuation back to the upside. We know the weekly chart has changed the trend with a higher low and a higher high, and the bulls are shifting momentum and trying to see a bull MACD cross in their favor as well. With the way we are set up on these charts, WED is going to see a new all-time high long before any of these other names do, and of course news can change that, but I'm just referring to the biggest 4 names. So APH, nice recovery, bulls just fine on the daily time frame, trying to see follow through. Not as strong as WED. You can see the hourly time frame is consolidating, so there's definitely hype in WED, again partially due to the NYSE uplisting and partially due to the Mad Money reaction, which again admittedly had a bigger reaction than I anticipated. And what I do, my job, when we have a chat room and we have a ton of people all extremely bullish and euphoric or extremely bearish and negative, I always play the devil's advocate to try and balance things out. If everybody's really bearish, I'm pointing out historical bounce levels and saying, where I'm looking to play this oversold bounce. If everybody's bullish, I'm trying to, tamper those expectations and say, hey, just because we were on CNBC, yes, that's great exposure, but we shouldn't be anticipating a huge day and have that in our game plan. It's always nice to position ourselves for that possibility, and then it plays out and we profit. But I just don't want everybody to get into a groupthink mindset, which is what we always want to avoid. So again, pleasantly surprised that the reaction was more bullish than I anticipated, and certainly able to, profit off that and recognize that, but not having, not going into the day saying, oh, we're going to get a 10% move or it's going to be bust, but saying, yeah, we're going to be looking for some bullish follow through and we'll see how strong it goes. So higher low on APH, the range right now is 1215 support, 1254 resistance, and 1288 after that. Cron, so Cron is in this daily equilibrium pattern, and the reason that I was looking for an entry on Cron, highlighted in the last video, was because we were looking for a higher low to form compared to I'm actually looking at the Canadian ticker here, compared to 706. So I've been playing the US ticker. But 706 was the level we were looking for the higher low, and we pulled back to 737, so we got real close. And the US ticker had a double bottom Thursday and Friday by 1 penny. The Canadian ticker did not get that close to the low of Thursday on Friday, but the volume is the reason that I got into Cron. I saw the bull show up first thing. I said, all right, we're not getting the pullback I was anticipating, but the 5-minute time frame was increasing bull volume. Whenever you see increasing bull volume after the bell rings, that is always notable, because the vast majority of the time, the common pattern is the most volume and most activity is in the first few candlesticks of the day, and then it trickles off and it calms down and it reaches a slow base. Whenever you see this happening, that is notable extra bullish strength. So on the first consolidation, the first little bull flag here, rather than setting my bids and hoping I get filled, I was just market buying aggressively multiple positions on this first little consolidation, and then watching the follow through for the rest of the day for the bulls. So here on the daily time frame, the reason that I am entering Cron here on this weekly chart before the equilibrium has broken which I normally wait for the equilibrium, but here I am liking the risk to reward of the entry that I got. I will exit if the daily support level just established breaks, and I am favoring the bulls to break on this weekly equilibrium because the market and the sector is bullish. WED is leading the way and looking for bullish exposure on the NYSE, and then if people are talking about WED on the NYSE, maybe they start talking about CRON on the NASDAQ. So just the fact that we broke bullish on WED and the overall preceding trend both favors the bulls for me personally, which is why, again, I got in a little bit earlier than I normally would. So my stop loss is 737. On the US ticker, it's different because it's a different number, but we're looking for a bull break to break the equilibrium from 874 here. So we're likely to stay tightening within this range for maybe another week, but keep an eye on these two levels. We're getting to a flex point of this pattern, and we're going to get some clarity. Just like WED gave us clarity on its weekly chart, we're going to get that on CRON shortly. ACB is still the lead bear, but it was the lead bull in terms of percentage gains from the big four on Friday. I entered positions on Thursday, took a little bit off in terms of protecting my position. I went in a little bit heavier than I normally do on ACB, so I did take some short-term profit and then swung a little bit of that position, probably half at this point, into, again, I'm swinging, at this point I've got CRON, ACB, and WED heading into next week, and the very strong close was easy to build confidence to hold a little bit longer. And now the next resistance is 831. So for the bulls to get back on track, they have to break the lower high pattern on the daily. And 831 is that level. If we bounce here and reject from 831 and pull back again, it's just another lower high. So the bears still have control of the daily trend. But obviously there's still opportunity when you go 10% in one day. ACB, definitely keep an eye on it. And we were looking at it because, again, the 4-hour RSI level is getting down to historical bounce points. We didn't quite get to 20, but I started building my position as we headed down to 20, just in case we didn't get down that far. And I would have definitely added more if we dropped down towards $7 on Friday morning, but we did not get that, which I'm not complaining about because the bulls certainly performed. So significant follow through. Again, same thing. The hourly chart's a little overextended. We will need some healthy consolidation sooner rather than later, but we're going to see what are the U.S. tickers going to do on Monday without the Canadian volume there. And I do believe WED, or I should say TWMJF, could have a pretty solid day. We also have CRON uplisting to the TSX, so it's no longer CRON.V. I believe next week it will go into effect, CRON.TO. IIPR I've highlighted a couple times. Just want to keep on watch. I'm not saying get a position on IIPR. I'm saying if you're learning technical analysis, watch how this pattern plays out and you can learn some lessons from it. So I keep highlighting how it is the perfect cup and handle at this point. Just watching for the potential of follow through. This is a handle of consolidation and we're looking for new all-time highs and continuation. But another point that I want to make is you can see this pattern on the weekly time frame, but if you want more details, again, you'll always zoom in and get more details. And now there's something more clear that I can be watching on this handle. I've got the high, low, lower high, higher low. So it's a very clear equilibrium, the kind of pattern that we are always watching. And we're looking for a break of this range. Support is 31.80 and resistance is 35. And we're currently right in the middle of that range. And we're looking for a break sometime in the next 2 weeks. The way that this scenario goes, if we get a bull break, we're going to say, all right, the odds that it's a cup and handle pattern and we head to new all-time highs is very likely. And if we get a bear break of this higher low, we're going to say, all right, the bulls are still okay on the weekly time frame, but this is going to set back the timeline of when a potential new all-time high is coming. So this pattern is definitely worth watching because it is going to break sometime in the next week or two, and there is very significant potential profit. Last breakout we had on IIPR, we went from $19, $20 and ran up to $36 in just 4 days. So the opportunity is there if the bulls can get that momentum going. We're just keeping an eye out to see how we break that daily equilibrium pattern. Another one I added a position on Friday is KSHB. This is the daily chart of lower highs and lower lows. Dollar liquidity is not there in terms of comparison to the Canadian names. So it's definitely a higher risk, higher reward play. And in those scenarios, I use less capital. I'm a lot more comfortable using capital on high liquidity names like WED than I am on a name like this. But we broke the consolidation and we're looking for continuation. And I'm looking at this bull flag potential pattern on the daily time frame. So this is the kind of scenario where I love the risk to reward. It's a general pattern that favors the bulls. It's healthy consolidation. I put my stop loss below 623 because if that level breaks, the odds of it being a daily bull flag greatly decrease. And I just look for a continuation. So I made an entry on Friday. I got my stop loss. I've already know the exact dollar amount that I can lose on this trade. And I know what the risk to reward scenario is, where let's say I got in at 642, I believe was the entry. I'm looking down at 623. So a potential loss of about 20 cents by the time I get stopped out. And the potential gains from 643, if we break this 675 level, we're looking up at $7. And that's pretty much a 3-to-1 risk to reward scenario. 60 cents of upside and 20 cents of downside on that potential trade. So that's just going into my mindset on a trade. And that's obviously coming off of a really good week for Canadian MJ and a lot of profit going around. So saying, all right, I'll take that, a little bit of a risk. It's definitely an easy loss that I could stomach if it doesn't play out. And if it follows through, we'll keep this MJ hype going. So I appreciate you all watching. Keep in mind the action, I keep talking about news and psychology, but if we see bullish action like we're seeing right now, run up into early June for this June 7th vote, in my opinion, it's a sell the news event. So if the odds of an event happening are likely, and let's say really likely means more than 80%, right? So if the market is anticipating more than an 80% chance that this vote is going to pass, that means the market is doing a really good job of pricing it in. So if these stocks run up for the next, let's see, how many days do we have until that vote? Trading days, we probably got 5, 10, 15, less than that. So we've got about 12 to 13 trading days before this vote. If we run up strong on WED with this daily chart, I am going to expect a sell the news event because it will already be priced in. So keep that in mind over the next 2.5 weeks. If we run crazy, I personally would not expect, this euphoric June 8th reaction to the vote going through. I would expect supply and demand to shift from now there's a lot more supply of shares than there is demand, as everybody that was anticipating bullish action on this vote has already gotten in. We'll have to see how that plays out. We're going to be keeping an eye on it. Certainly a little bit premature there. We have weeks to go. We don't have to worry about that for another week or two. And we'll just see how long these bulls can run after that strong close and how this U.S. market responds on Monday. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you soon.